I'm aware that there's still some who would question or even justify the offense of 9/11. But let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people on that day. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts.
You've been subject to propaganda, lies, by people who are very well trained in how they do that.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
Prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land.
searching for weapons of mass destruction, the tools to turn their hatred into holocaust.
Now remember, folks, I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what is taught in the mysteries. I'm telling you what our enemies believe. Make no mistake about it, they are our mortal enemies. They want to see us wiped off the face of the earth. There's a method to their madness. There's really not much method to yours, because you're operating from a place of ignorance, and until you change that, you'll be bumbling around, bumping into each other, saying and doing the wrong things, not understanding the nature of your enemy. If you don't understand the nature of your enemy and the weapons they use, you cannot fight that enemy. You can't fight the battle. You shouldn't even be on the battlefield. That's why you're losing the war. And don't tell me you're not, because I'm in a place of great knowledge about who's winning and who's losing this war. And I can assure you, you're losing the war. It doesn't mean it can't be turned around, but it'll never be turned around until you learn what you need to know. You don't even recognize half the weapons that they use against you. And some of them seem so insignificant that you don't even try.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
In the early 1900s, French psychologist Pierre Genet studied what he called disaggregation, the splitting of consciousness under trauma. Genet studied several patients whose traumatic histories had led to what modern science calls multiple personality disorder. Severe trauma in childhood can fragment the mind into different parts, known as alters. The purpose of the alter is to spare the individual the trauma, so the individual consciousness is unaware of the alter. They exist separately. According to history, this has been understood for millennia, and these alters can be programmed and trained, and can hold information inaccessible to the core personality. You can trace this knowledge all the way back to the Egyptian mystery schools, to the Knights Templar, and through all the various secret societies that followed. The neurological research has shown that the alters are different people with different brain activation patterns, autonomic responses, visual acuity, and allergic responses. Some alters speak languages that the individual can't. This explains why these alters were seen as demonic possession in the past, and why many still see it that way. Government studies on combat veterans after World War I showed that extreme stress can produce amnesia and identity disruption. During World War II, Dr. Joseph Mengele experimented with traumatizing children, and beginning in 1945 with Operation Paperclip, the United States began recruiting several scientists involved in this research into the CIA. The CIA's Project Bluebird attempted to create amnesia in people with hypnosis, drugs, and electroshock. This continued with Project Artichoke, where the CIA added sensory deprivation and forced morphine addiction. A 1952 memo shows they were looking to see if a person could be made into an unwitting assassin. In the MK-Ultra program, the CIA added a psychological trauma they called psychic driving, often administered while the person was under the influence of LSD. And with Project MK Often, the CIA began experimenting with demonic possession and looking into occult rituals that could influence behavior. According to scores of victims, many of whom have mysteriously died or disappeared, the world stage is cast with psychotic victims of trauma-based mind control, with multiple personalities who do exactly what they are told. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino of the U.S. Army's Psychological Operations, who founded the Satanic Temple of Set in 1975, and managed to get it listed in the U.S. Army Chaplain's Handbook, published a paper in 1980, From PSYOP to Mind War, The Psychology of Victory, that suggested targeting the domestic population with ELF waves and any other type of technology available that could control behavior. There is a trauma-based mind control light version for the entire population, known as effective management and crisis capitalization, strategies of using stress and fear to induce regression and make the population dependent on authority figures or comfort objects. Terror management theory has demonstrated that when subjects were shown imagery of death or disasters, they were more likely to vote for authoritative leaders who promised safety and purchase luxury items they didn't need. A frightened population demands more policing. They tolerate more surveillance, and they prefer to stay indoors. When the population is subjected to mass trauma, they fall into a state of collective dissociation, and unpopular policies are pushed through that would not be accepted by a logical, thinking mental state, like the Patriot Act, or a governmental system run by artificial intelligence. Greg Reese reporting.
And it's all documented here in William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse. Nothing in this book is conjecture. It is all backed with real documentation and undeniable evidence.
Jimmy Fallon doesn't know, David Letterman doesn't know, we don't know. All the comics and show business don't know what this is. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the illuminati, and you're part of it, and it is the all-mocking time. For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh, and stuff like that, make you happy and docile, so you don't know what's really going on. You know, and they get out there in the woods in a circle, naked, and they decide these things. You know what they're trying to do? Ooh, this thing is buzzing. Hold on. They're trying to turn us into, consumer drones of some sort. Hold on, I just gotta get this. Yeah. Listen, I'm in the middle of blowing the lid off some. What happened? I'm sorry, Jimmy. I was temporarily interrupted by my iPhone 6 Plus. 5.5 heads-up HD display.